Congressman Brett Sherman with us. Thank you so much, Congressman, for your time, and thank you so much for agreeing to speak to us. Congressman, you are a long-time supporter and advocate for Armenian issues on the Hill. You are a member of Armenian Caucus, one of the leading members of Armenian Caucasus. And this is the 30th anniversary. This year marks the 30th anniversary of diplomatic relations between Armenia and the United States. You was one of the members who received the State Award from the government of Armenia. What it means for you? What means the 30th anniversary of between two countries that share the same values? What it means for you?
Well, I think what's so important is that after hundreds of years, with a short interruption in the early in the 20th century, we see an independent Armenia. And naturally, you'd expect good ties between the United States and the Republic of Armenia.
Congressman, recently one of the main topics that discussed and what you advocate for this is aid to Armenia from the United States. Recently, the House adopted the legislation that allows 60 million to Armenia and 2 million for demining programs in Nagorno-Karabakh. What can you say about this legislation? What do you expect? What do you think about it?
Well, I think the 2 million for Artsakh re-demonstrates that we regard Artsakh as a separate territorial entity. I would like us to recognize the Republic of Artsakh. And the amount of aid is lower than it should be. I would like to see Armenia once again in the Millennium Challenge account, which provides us substantial aid. The World Bank has classified Armenia as an upper middle income country. Now, I wish that were valid and true, given the effects of this terrible war, given the economic effects of COVID. I see the economic problems in Armenia being so significant that I think the World Bank determination should not be adhered to, and Armenia should be eligible along with other lower middle income countries for the Millennium Challenge account.
Security is probably one of the main issues in the region today, in the South Caucasus region today. And Armenia is the country that lives in a very fragile region, and you always advocate for against the assistance to countries that threaten the security of Armenia and Nagorno-Karabakh. We're talking about Azerbaijan, and recently the government waived again 907 section. What do you think about it, which allows assistance to aid to military aid to Azerbaijan? What will be your comment about it?
Well, we should not be waiving Section 907. We should not be providing any aid to Azerbaijan. This is an oil-rich country that, on its own, decided to launch a war of aggression. We responded forcefully when Russia decided on its own to try to seize parts of Ukraine, and we should not be providing aid to Azerbaijan. That said, the aid that we're providing is small, but I think it's diplomatically important, and it ought to be ended.
U.S. and Turkey relations, Congressman, last year, United States officially recognized the Armenian genocide. President Biden made a statement, and you also applauded, and you long time supported the genocide recognition, the Armenian genocide recognition by the U.S. administration. What do you think about the current Turkish, U.S.-Turkish relations? How it affected the U.S.-Turkey relations? And also, recently there was a meeting between the President of Biden and President Erdogan in Madrid on the frame of the NATO regarding the Finland and Sweden. What would be your comment about it?
Well, I don't think we should be selling F-16s to Turkey at this time. It worries me that Turkey was able to hold hostage Sweden and Finland's entry into NATO and demand changes in the policies of Finland and Sweden, but also there are those who think that at least the administration shift on the F-16 was tied into this. NATO is just made stronger by Sweden and Finland joining, and there was no reason that a price should be paid to Turkey. I think that for decades I worked on getting America to recognize the genocide, and we were constantly told that this would destroy U.S. relations with Turkey. In fact, the issues we have with Turkey have little or nothing to do with the fact that America finally decided to be honest about history and recognize the genocide. The Turkish focus now is on getting F-16s. Hell, they'd like F-35s. They're not going to get those. And they want changes in the amnesty and refugee status in Sweden, in particular, of certain Kurds. So that's where Turkey is focused, and Turkey should, of course, stop engaging in genocide denial, but at least they have not focused their efforts here in the United States on somehow trying to get us to reverse what should never be reversed, and that is our recognition of the genocide.
Just a follow-up question, Congressman. President Biden named the summit in Madrid as a history-making summit, which was basically related to Ukraine, and one of the main topics was military aid to Ukraine. What do you think about the outcomes of this summit, and what does it mean for Ukraine, in your opinion?
Well, Europe and the United States are united on helping Ukraine. I'd like to see that a ceasefire and a settlement reached. The entire world is paying the price for Putin's aggression. I think there'll be more people who die in Africa than in Eastern Europe as a result of this war, because of the higher prices for food, particularly wheat, and fertilizer, and fuel as well, that are all occasioned by Putin's war of aggression. So we have a strong interest to bring this war to a conclusion, and we may not achieve total justice. I don't think Russia is going to withdraw from Crimea, but the sooner this war ends, the better.
And my last question, Congressman, about the sanctions against Russia. You have been initiated the Russian and Belarus Financial Sanctions Act that was passed by the House on May, and which directs U.S. financial institutions to ensure their subsidiaries, including foreign branches, comply with U.S. sanctions. Mm-hmm. What does it mean? Why it's important, and what does it mean? How it will make U.S. sanctions against Russia more effective?
Well, you want sanctions not only to be a diplomatic statement, you want them to have actual business impact. And often the people writing the sanctions, either knowingly or just because they're not business lawyers, don't focus on how to make the sanctions binding on all the entities that would be relevant. So our initial sanctions focused on U.S. companies, but technically a foreign subsidiary of a U.S. company is incorporated in another jurisdiction. And so those companies weren't covered. They need to be covered. They will be covered. But that I live half my world dealing with foreign affairs. The other half is on chair of the subcommittee that deals with Wall Street and capital markets and U.S. corporations. And so I decided to bring both of those expertise areas together and try to make our sanctions, particularly on buying Russian sovereign debt, applicable to foreign subsidiaries of U.S. corporations, particularly banks.
And how you would describe the actions of the Russian in Ukraine? How you describe the invasion? What does it?
Well, they're horrific. There are many horrific things happening in the world. If this was the only horrific thing happening in the world, I would say we should fight forever to solve that one problem. But there are so many problems in the world. and you don't always achieve a total justice. But this was a war of choice by Putin, and ultimately the Russian people are going to ask, why did we do this when it's not making our lives better? And this idea that Russian-speaking Ukrainians were under some threat is absurd. I'm very involved in human rights around the world, and there was not a human rights issue in eastern Ukraine. Clearly, Putin thought that he could take all of Ukraine and do it easily when he discovered that the Ukrainians would fight. And I think Ukrainians have surprised the whole world in how tenacious they have fought. He's decided to come up with other excuses for his invasion. He's got to be embarrassed. He thought that Ukraine was within his grasp, and now the world has an unnecessary war.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.